Hello everybody, before I start this video, let me go ahead and get my facts straight. 1. I am not a game designer. 2. I have several years of experience DMing and homebrewing, but I don't have any official training when it comes to game design. 3. I'm aware that this topic has been done to death. 4. My only goal is to get you hyped to play the Ranger so you can go into a game with full excitement.
Alright.
Let's roll. Let's say your party is out in the haunted forest of Barovia. Fog is sneaking in, covering the landscape in an eerie glaze that smothers your group's vision and morale. Everywhere you look constantly, you swear that there's something just in the corner of your vision. Is it a werewolf? A demon? Maybe a ghost? Or, of course, it could always just be a trick of the light. The problem is that you don't know, and you're beginning to realize that you're all probably lost. Or, at least, you would be if it were not for the small halfling up at the front of your troop who holds up a single finger to bring everyone to a halt. "Can you taste that?" she whispers as her hand slowly moves to the crossbow strapped along her back. "Taste? What?" Your large, burly Goliath friend responds as they grab the handle of their weapon as well, causing you to follow suit. "The mint in the air. It's soft, subtle, but it's a telltale sign of..." She cuts off as her eyes widen and she whirls around to warn her party at the last second. "Cover your ears!" Each of your group obeys without hesitation, having learned long ago to trust the little halfling first and ask questions later. It's fortunate that you do, as it muffles what could have been a deadly shriek of the horrific banshee emerging from the fog with its haunting guise. Roll for initiative. That story is a great example of the fantasy of playing a ranger. Unfortunately, in 5th edition, the ranger often doesn't live up to what people want it to be. See, there are issues with the ranger mechanically. There always have been, and while efforts in Xanathar's Guide to Everything in Tasha's Cauldron have done a great job of improving the class, it has never really removed the core problem, and that's identity. When you hear most people complain about the ranger, it's not usually about what they can't do. It's a fact that the other classes can do those things better. They'll say, "Ranger can fight." "Yeah, but not as well as the fighter." "Ranger is also a spellcaster." "Yeah, but not as efficiently as the paladin or the artificer." "Ranger can sneak." "Not as well as the rogue." So on, so on, so on. And then the one thing it does have an identity in, which is exploration, is unfortunately undercut by the massive lack of rules in the DMG and the player's handbook for exploration. And as I've said, people have talked about this stuff to death. But what if I told you all those weaknesses are exactly why I love the Ranger, and why you should play one? See, the Ranger doesn't lack an identity. In my mind, if you play it right, it has an identity as the jack of all trades, even over Bard, who actually has a mechanical benefit with the exact same name, Jack of all trades. Let's think about the quintessential Ranger in, say it with me everyone, literature and media. I know I say that every video, but it's because literature and media are where most of the archetypes are pulled from in Dungeons & Dragons. Aragorn, or Strider, from Lord of the Rings is pretty much what the class is based on. A lot of people typically try to attribute the Ranger archetype to Legolas in the early days of 4th and 5th edition, simply because he had a bow and seemed like he was good in the woods. But when you look at it, Legolas fits much more of the fighter archetype. Trained in what seems like all weapons, highly skilled with his bow, firing off multiple shots in quick succession, textbook fighter. Meanwhile, there was Aragorn, a powerful fighter in his own right who consistently kept pace with Legolas and Gimli, who are both arguably far more skilled combatants. And yet, in a battle, who did they listen to? Legolas was more experienced and skilled. Gimli was more ferocious and determined. But it was Aragorn who called the shots. It was Aragorn who looked at the massive battle and with a keen wit saw true danger and shouted, It was Aragorn who could keep up with them in battle. Not outshine them, not by a long shot, but keep up. It was Aragorn who could track down the hobbits when they were kidnapped. Legolas had insane supervision to see where they were going, yes.
Your elf I see! The Uruks turn northeast! They're taking the hobbits to Isengard!
But Aragorn was the one who could actually track them. It was Aragorn who determined Frodo's wound could not simply be healed by traditional means, but instead by the magic of the elves. And yet he found the herbs which would help Frodo stay alive long enough to be able to get them there. Consistently, he is never the best at what is going on. The Ranger is the jack of all trades, someone who's always equipped even if they are the master of none. Honestly, that's why I think the Ranger is a great class to play. You'll probably truly never be the best at anything outside of exploration, but you'll always be able to contribute and support to what others are doing in a truly impressive way. And believe it or not, that is a huge way of helping out your party. When you first start playing a ranger at level 1, you get a certain array of abilities, specifically favored enemy and natural explorer. At first glance, these abilities seem to fly in direct opposition of everything I just said. I mean, the class that's supposed to be useful in every situation has 2 abilities that force them to only really be good in very specific scenarios. I know, I get how that comes across, but just give me a second to explain. As a ranger, you can be just as effective as a fighter in the early levels. What these abilities do is just make you more capable in very specific scenarios, and still plenty capable in all the rest. They don't make you only good when you fight your favorite enemy or in your favorite terrain. It just means that when those situations do come up, you can show, hey, not only can I assist with what everyone else is doing, I also have a very specific niche here. Check me out, see what I can do. And you know what? As someone who played a ranger for a decent amount of time, I could say that when your favorite choices do arrive, it feels really good. Especially when you and the DM are on the same page of making your favorite choices seem important. And even so, thanks to Tasha's Cauldron, there's also some pretty decent alternatives in the form of Deft Explorer and Favorite Foe. So if your DM is allowing you to use those, go for it. They're an awesome alternative. But because the ranger gets abilities that allow them to keep up with other classes, such as proficiency with martial weapons, 3 skill proficiencies at level 1, and a d10 hit dice, they can still keep up with other classes and perform alongside them even while their abilities are a little niche down. And it only gets better from there. While some of the base ranger's abilities are a little meh, looking at you, Primeval Awareness, Tasha's offers some great alternatives even without them. Tasha's offers some great alternatives, and even without them. God damn it! Why is this so hard? Tasha's offers some great alternatives, and even without them, literally any of the subclasses outside of some of the outliers in the player's handbook have straight up amazing abilities that are absolutely worth playing Ranger for. Yes! Oh, that took me so many takes to do. I mean, look at Otherworldly Glamour. You get to be charismatic and wise? Or how about Dread Ambusher? It's got a fucking edgy name and it's one of the most fun abilities to use. And what's even better is all of these subclasses are so incredibly varied that most allow you to have your own little niche of your own outside of already being a jack of all trades. Did you want to be kinda like a bard? Hell yeah, go play Fey Wanderer. Looking to be edgy like the rogue? Maybe compete with their edginess? Gloomstalker is for you, my dude. Really looking to give the fighter a run for his money? Hunter and Monster Slayer are straight up that alley. So, to be clear, not only can you be useful or helpful in pretty much any scenario, you can also have your own skill you're pretty good at or maybe even the best at thanks to your subclass. This makes you capable of being decent in combat, being capable of sneaking with the rogue, good at social encounters thanks to potentially having high insight, being capable of helping heal thanks to your spells, being capable of tanking thanks to a d10 hit dice and proficiency with most types of armor. Basically, you can be decent, if not good, at everything. So, you should play a ranger. Right? Well... The truth is, none of what I've said here today is news to a lot of people who have been playing D&D for a while. And even with this knowledge, they still typically choose to play something else over the Ranger. And why is that? Well, I have a theory. It may not be correct, but after playing Ranger for a while and DMing for one, I think it's probably close enough to the truth. Honestly, I think people don't play the Ranger because at the end of the day, the Ranger is misclassified. We, as humans, tend to stereotype and put things in groups because it's how our brain works. If we can't put things into groups, it doesn't make sense, and so we tend to ignore it. I think the Ranger is a victim of this. When you look online or ask people about their favorite types of classes to play, you'll notice even without really intending to, they group the classes into 3 different categories: damage dealers, utility casters, and supports. Utility casters are your magic casters with a wide array of spells that let them do lots of stuff even outside of combat. Spells like Knock, Seeming, or Teleport are all great examples of this. They don't do much inside combat, but they grant your party a lot of flexibility. Druids and wizards often get cited as the premier utility casters. Supports are usually spellcasters too, honestly, but they tend to focus purely on supportive and buffing spells while learning and preparing. These are spells like Haste, Cure Wounds, or Enhance Ability. You'll often see people cite the Bard or Cleric as being pretty good at this role if they specialize. And then there's the damage dealers. This is either a spellcaster who's purely focused on using those sweet spell slots to nuke people down, looking at you, sorcerer, or a martial class. And that's because out of all the martial classes, pretty much all of them are mostly good for dealing tons of damage in combat. If that's what they're made for after all, to hit things with weapons and make it hurt, then why would you not consider them that? And because the fighter, barbarian, rogue, heck even the paladin are all grouped into this category of mainly dealing damage, everyone expects the ranger to fit in there too. Because it has weapons, it has armor. shouldn't it be able to keep up with the rest of the martial classes? Well, yes, it can keep up, but it will never be as good as the others because it's just not made for that. And so people will always pick something else over it, leaving it dusty and left on the shelf. And I think that's really sad. But I don't think Ranger is meant to be a damage dealer. I think it's meant to be a support.
What? What the
And not like Bard or Cleric or anything. It can't cast the spells that they do. It can't buff people like they do. But what Ranger can do is be there at any time. When the rogue goes sneaking, the Ranger can follow and not be a burden, which means the rogue doesn't have to go risk being alone and getting caught. When the fighter has to face down the massive dragon, the Ranger can be there by their side, helping tank the blows while flanking the huge creature. And when the monk or the druid or anyone with high wisdom is trying to track down or read insight into a creature, they can be there to give input and maybe even push them over the threshold of reaching that DC. They can always be by the side of anyone, a stoic and firm presence to bring calm and let them know that they are not alone and there is someone incredibly capable by their side. Just like Aragorn always did. The Ranger isn't meant to take the spotlight, it's meant to share it and allow others to feel more comfortable being in it. It's meant to bring stability and reliability, a support in all encounters, not just social or combat. A class that leads by example and supports those who put themselves out there. So if you're the kind of player who likes backing your party up, who likes being supportive, maybe next time, try out the Ranger. They might not shine as bright as the other classes do in the single moment, but over the course of the campaign, I think you might be surprised when you look back and see just how bright your character was shining the whole time. I hope this might have encouraged you to play a Ranger and consider them in a different light, not just in combat, but in roleplay, social, or otherwise. I hope everybody goes out in the world and makes it their own and enjoys life to the fullest, and never forget to play your role. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. This is a much different video than I've been making, but I think I like making these a lot more. I enjoyed it a ton, and it was a lot of fun to edit and, do a little bit more animations and just enjoy that rather than just filming my face talking. If you guys liked it, please let me know and comment down below. I would love to make more of these. I do plan on finishing up this series, but with this sort of format if everybody likes it. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and just go out into the world, make it your own. Thanks.